All right, let's dive in. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something pretty fascinating, a highly structured system, basically an innovation machine. It's built to solve a really tough problem. How do you take incredibly complex, patent-level ideas and turn them into a daily stream of content that people can actually understand? Let's see how it's done. So, this really is the core question, right? Imagine you're sitting on 13 distinct, patent-eligible innovations. That's a ton of intellectual property. The challenge is, how do you talk about them every single day in a way that's engaging and consistent without just overwhelming everyone? Well, that's the exact problem this system was built to solve. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the raw material, the innovation portfolio itself. Then we'll get into the content engine, the policy that makes it all run. After that, we'll see the daily trigger that kicks it off, the scorecard that keeps it honest, and finally, we'll put all the pieces together to see the master blueprint. Okay, first up, the innovation portfolio. Before you can build any kind of engine, you've got to know what kind of fuel it's going to use. So let's take a look at the core assets that are really the heart and soul of this entire system. Right off the bat, it's important to note this isn't just some random brainstormed list. We're talking about a formally curated portfolio of really high-value IP. These are 13 unique technical assets, each one considered patent eligible, and they've been brought together for a very specific reason. And just look at the sheer range of ideas here. I mean, it is incredible. You've got everything from the G2 Voter Auditable Election System, or VAES, all the way over to an autonomous driving platform, and even a development method for AI. This kind of diversity is exactly why you need a super structured system. Otherwise, it would just be chaos. So, we have all these amazing assets, but how do you actually talk about them? How do you manage all that communication? Well, now we're heading into the engine room to look at the strict policy that powers this whole machine. Now, before we go any further, you have to get this concept. It's called key betterment points. This whole system isn't about diving into every single technical detail of a patent. No, it's laser-focused on one thing, finding and highlighting the specific, game-changing improvements that each one of these innovations delivers. And this quote from the policy document just says it all. The goal is to create a trigger task for generating cinematic quality videos and audios. The words that really jump out to me are trigger and generating. It's all about having a simple, repeatable prompt that leads to consistent, high-quality content every single time. And speaking of triggers, this system doesn't just run itself. It needs a very specific manual command to get started each day. So let's break down exactly how that works, step by step. I love this because it just shows you how precise the whole process is. Step 1. A person has to manually type the exact phrase daily innovation brief. No typos, no shortcuts. Step 2. This system then picks 3 innovations from that big portfolio. And step 3, that simple selection kicks off the production of 9 distinct media artifacts. It's a clean, simple 1, 2, 3 process. And here's what you get every day. Those 9 artifacts are perfectly balanced. For each of the 3 innovations that get picked, the system creates 1 infographic, 1 slick cinematic video, and 1 audio podcast. You get this complete multi-format package day in and day out. Pretty cool. Now, this is where it gets really strict. The content can only focus on the 3 innovations of the day and their key betterment points. And the don'ts are arguably even more important. You can't talk about the policy itself, you can't mention any other assets, and whatever you do, do not try to get creative with the process. The guardrails are incredibly tight, and that's by design. Okay, so you have all these strict rules, but how do you actually make sure they're being followed? That's where this built-in quality control system comes into play, a mandatory self-grading scorecard. So get this, the engine doesn't just make content, it actually grades its own work every single time it runs. It checks itself against that strict policy and spits out a final score. It's this really cool layer of accountability that's baked right into the workflow. And that final score is broken down into 4 equal chunks, each worth 25%. The goal is always 100%. And to get there, you have to nail every single part. There's no partial credit here. You either follow the policy perfectly or you fail the whole run. So the bottom line is, it's an all-or-nothing game. Did it make exactly 9 pieces of content? Did it stick to the key points? Was it based on the approved source material? And did it avoid all those forbidden topics? It's a simple but really comprehensive check on quantity, focus, sourcing, and following the rules. Okay, Let's take a step back and connect all these dots. Why on earth would you go to all this trouble to create such a rigid, rule-based system? What's the bigger purpose of this whole content machine? Well, the system runs on a library of approved raw materials. It all starts with those core assets and is supported by official documents, photos, and videos. But what's really interesting is that it even learns from its own mistakes, using past policy violations to guide future runs. It's a completely closed loop, designed for ultimate consistency. And that brings us to the main takeaway. This is not about random sparks of creativity. It's about disciplined, systematic communication. The entire goal is to make sure that every single day, the core value of this incredibly important IP is communicated clearly, consistently, and with maximum impact. And that leaves us with a final thought. What we've looked at today is a blueprint for turning complexity into clarity. It's a true machine for explanation. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What complex ideas in your world could use this kind of focused, disciplined, and powerful approach to be explained better?